Okay, so I prepared this presentation today for this Unity event with three chapters. The first, I wanted to share with you some data about third-party app stores, because that's what we've been doing for 7 years. So our company name is called Aptoide, the one on the top. The second chapter is about our blockchain protocol that we start developing in January this year. And here I'll explain how blockchain can be interesting for the App Store business and for developers. And then the third chapter is the topic of this talk, how if you work with us, you can reach an audience of 200 million users. All right, so in terms of the third-party app stores, I prepared a few slides about the ecosystem. So this one I don't think is a surprise for anybody. So Android is completely dominating the mobile markets with almost 90% of the users. Apple has about 10%, and then all the other operating systems died already. But I think this is not new for you. You guys know this. In terms of where the money is coming, the shift that we've been seeing is that it used to come from the paid apps, right? This light gray part. But the paid apps are getting shorter and shorter in terms of generating revenue. And what's growing is the dark blue, right? The in-app purchases. So I think this is because users don't want to pay for anything anymore, right? They're so used to get everything for free. So the trick here as a developer is to try and get downloads, of course, awareness. And then once the user starts using the game, how do you convince them to actually spend money in the game, right? So that's the biggest challenge. The other huge problem is that if you distribute through the traditional app stores, it's actually getting more and more difficult to get the eyeballs from the users. So Apple App Store has about 2 million apps and games in their store. Google Play has almost 4 million apps and games. And to support this challenge, I actually got a quote from this year from Gartner that says, for every app that is uploaded to the app stores, for every 10,000 apps and games uploaded to the app store, only one will actually be commercially viable, will actually make money. 9,999, they will not be able to survive from the money from the app. So it's a huge challenge to get the eyeballs. I wanted to share with you, I know that I'm sure you've seen information about this, right? Of how it's important to optimize your app to make sure that you're discovered. But I thought I should share some of the data we see in our app store, in Aptoide. So the first data point that I have here is, when our users open the store, 60% of them go straight to the search bar. So they know exactly what they're looking for. But when we did a survey to our users, 20% of them, when they search for what they want, they have trouble finding it. So the reason I'm saying this is because it's really important to choose a good title to make sure that your users find it. And then additionally, the keywords, right? So our data tell us that if you choose a good title and if you choose a good keywords to describe your game, you actually rise 10% on the search ranking. And because 40% of the users will come to search for something because word of mouth, make sure that your taglines are actually in the description of the app. So the example I have here is from Pokeris, right? One of the developers that work with us. They put here, like for example, free chips, right? So if you're having dinner with somebody and this guy says, oh, I really like this poker game because, well, it's a nice game and they give free chips, it's normal that your friend then goes to search poker game free chips. So make sure that you have that description inside your game. Another thing which is really basic is the languages. So here, the case study I'm using is ourselves, right? Our own app store. So before we didn't have Bahasa. And what you see here on the top is what were the top language in the operating systems using Aptoide. And you can see that Bahasa was not very big. And in terms of users, of monthly active users, Indonesia was our number 23. Then we launched the Bahasa version of Aptoide, and in just 2 months, Bahasa became the second most used language in terms of operating system, and Indonesia went to number 15, just in 2 months, okay? So I would say that having a local language is a no-brainer for some countries, but it's not enough, okay? So one example that I chose here to share with you is this game, Castle Clash, that also works with us. These are all the versions they have inside Aptoide, but look at the Arabic version, right? So for the Arabic version, they actually covered the face of the cartoon, right, of the lady. I just like this example because it shows how detailed some developers can be for the users to feel that that app is tailored for their own market. And there's more and more examples. Like, I don't know how many guys use Uber or Grab, but when there's something happening, they actually will change the color or the flag in top of the car. So, for example, in Portugal, we won the Euro Cup against France, and then during the next couple of weeks, all the Ubers in Portugal had the Portuguese flag, you know, just to celebrate the fact that we won the Euro Cup. It just makes the user feel like, okay, this app is tailoring to our market. Okay, so in terms of third-party app stores, I collected some data from AppAnnie. What you see on top is the number of downloads. So the forecast from AppAnnie is that by 2021, 35% of the downloads are coming from third-party app stores. Today, the share is already around 30% of the downloads. And then in terms of money, it's actually 46%. So I think what AppAnnie is forecasting here is not only the Chinese market, right, which is very powerful in terms of third-party app stores because Google Play is not there, but also the rise of third-party billing like the one I'm sharing with you here today. And then the last slide I have about this chapter is just the third-party app store ecosystem for the ones that might not know. So in China, it's like this, okay? There's no Google Play, so there's like 100 different app stores. And when you speak with Chinese developers, it's amazing. They're so used to do 100 different APKs with 100 different billings inside. Outside China, this is not an official numbers, but this is what we estimate from our own business and from talking with partners, that basically 80% of the downloads outside China in Android are coming from Google Play. And then 20% of downloads come from third-party app stores. And I just put here a few, the ones that I consider to be the more relevant right now. So, of course, ourselves, Samsung Galaxy apps, Yandex in Russia, Amazon App Store, and 9apps. It's actually a very popular app store in India. So, but of course, there's more. But these are the ones that I think are the most relevant. And that's it. Okay, so now about the blockchain. So let me share with you how we're trying to use blockchain to actually improve the App Store business and the developer's value proposition. So because we've been doing an App Store for 7 years, we identified these like 3 pain points, okay? One is about advertising. It's a problem because there's so much fraud right now in terms of installs. You think you're getting real users, but you're not. And it's so difficult for the developer to audit these installs. And then on top of that, there's a lot of intermediaries right now in the CPI model where you have to spend money with a lot of people in the middle, right, the middleman. In terms of payments, it's not us saying that it's unfair. The developers tell us that 30% is actually a very big cut, right? So you take so much effort to build your game. You have to spend money in user acquisition, and on top of that, you have to give 30% to Apple and Google. It's a bit frustrating, but there's no alternative, right? They're still dominating outside China. And then another problem that I've been facing at least a lot here in Southeast Asia is people that don't have a bank account. So they actually like your game. They want to buy something, but because Google Play does not have local payment methods, they cannot buy. And then the third thing is security, of course, right? So iOS is known to be like a more safe platform, Android suffers a little bit from malware and adware and virus. So these are the three things that we chose when we came out with this protocol to address. So how do you think blockchain can help with these three things? So number one, advertising. What you see here on the top is a traditional CPI campaign chain. So you're a developer, you have to speak with an exchanger that will get several CPI networks to generate installs for you. Then there's money with ad servers, DSP servers, SSP servers. You have to pay some money to Kochava or AppsFlyer. And finally, there's like the App Store like us, right? So all these guys take a cut, right, of the money from the developer. And because there's so many intermediaries, sometimes it's not transparent. So let me give you an example of how we and the developers suffer with this. Let's say I'm a user in Indonesia, and I see on Facebook an advertising about Gojek, right, which is like a local transportation platform. So I said, oh, this is interesting, I'd like to install Gojek. So the user clicks on the advertising, and the advertising sends them to Google Play. But then they go to Google Play, they don't have a Google account. So what they do, they use a third-party app store like Aptoide, search for Gojek, and then they install it. Actually, this install, the entity that will get the money from this install is actually Facebook, which was the ones showing the ad. But it was actually Aptoide supporting this install. So we don't get paid for that install. Facebook gets paid for that install, and then the developer doesn't understand where this user come from because it doesn't see the download in Google Play. So this is just an example of how sometimes it can be challenging. What we're proposing using the blockchain is a one-to-one relationship. It's called a smart contract in the blockchain between the developer and the user. So the way we're calling this is proof of attention, okay, because there was no name for this. This means that if the user see your advertising of your game or your app inside the App Store, they have to click on it, they have to install it, open, spend 2 minutes of attention inside your game or your app, non-stop, then they'll get a reward from the developer to the user. So let's say if you're a developer and you're saying, for every user that spends 2 minutes inside my app, I give 1 AppCoin. So that means the user would get 0.81 AppCoins, and then 0.19 will go for the App Store and the OEM. We decided in this protocol to actually reward the OEM, because the OEMs like Xiaomi, Samsung, they get 0 today from Google Play. We thought we should actually reward them for them to be on our side. So that's the advertising part. For the payment, which is like the most traditional one for blockchain projects, they always talk about payment. Basically, it's also about removing the intermediaries. So what you see on the top is the user goes inside your game, buys something, Google and Apple take a 30% cut, you, developer, get 70. The reason why Google and Apple take the cut is because they're a monopoly, but they say, no, 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 because we have to pay the credit card processor, the bank, the gateways, exchange fees, and so on. But okay, that's what they say, that there's all those intermediaries. With the blockchain, no intermediaries, so the same as the previous slide. This user goes inside your game, spends something, you get this amount of money immediately, okay? It's not like Google or Apple that keeps your money up to 2 months, no. As soon as the transaction is over, you get the 81% of this amount, and then 19% is shared between the App Store and the OEM. The reason why I mentioned here the 2 billion unbanked, I wanted to share a story with you from a developer in Myanmar. He has a popular game, but he has trouble collecting money from users in Myanmar. So what he does is, his family has a restaurant, so the users will go to the restaurant, give the money to his parents, write the username in a piece of paper, and then at night the developer goes in the back office and credits the whatever amount the user spent. It just gives you an example. If you're not in these emerging markets, you're not aware, but it's a big pain point for some of the users that actually like your game, but don't have a way to purchase something inside your game. We would like with this protocol to address those guys, right? I dream with a day where somebody goes to a 7-Eleven, just give some cash to the guy in the counter, just get some AppCoins, and then this guy can spend inside the game. So no bank account, nothing. But we're still not there, okay? I'll tell you about it, but we're still not there. Okay, finally, security. So what I have here on the left is how today, as an app store, we keep our app store free of virus and malware. So for every app and game that is uploaded, we use 6 antivirus tools to check for virus. Then we compare the signature against the one from Google Play to make sure nobody tampered with it. And finally, we have our own malware database. Only after all these steps, we allow this app or game in my store. What is this problem? The problem with this model is that if a bad developer with some virus tries to put this in Aptoide and fails, there's nothing stopping him from going to Amazon, Samsung, and try to do the same. So what we're thinking with the blockchain is to create something like a blacklist. I don't know if you know about this, but telecom companies, they were suffering from this like 10 years ago. I was a client of this mobile telecom company. I would not pay my bill. And once they shut me down, I would go to the next company and keep opening new SIM cards and not pay for it, right? So what the telecom companies did, they created like this blacklist. So whenever you try to open an account with a telecom company, they will go and check the blacklist to see what's your reputation. So we'd like to do the same thing for the Android developers. That means I want, once this is ready, one of the steps is I want to check this developer reputation. Did this developer already try to upload this game in other app stores? If he did, was it accepted? How many downloads it has? What's the rating of the app, right? Just to try and improve the general Android security. We as a company, right, we sit here, Aptoide, we've been doing this for 7 years, an alternative app store. It's really difficult to compete with Google Play. So what we decided when we start doing this protocol is that we don't want to own it, right? So we're doing everything open source, and we have a few app stores that already join us. So Mobile Streams is an app store from UK. They're already early adopter of AppCoins. Cherry Mobile is an app store from Philippines. They already said yes. Multilaser is an app store from Brazil. They said yes. And then, of course, there's new app stores that we're talking to. But even though it's open source, maybe these app stores, they feel like this product belongs to Aptoide. So what we did 2 weeks ago, we created a foundation here in Singapore called App Store Foundation, and they'll be the ones in charge of the protocol. Why are we doing this? Because we want, when there's a voting about how this protocol should evolve, if these guys vote to go right, and Aptoide says go left, they win, right? And that's how we can become an independent protocol. And the reason we want to do this is because unless we join forces with other third-party app stores, it's really difficult to compete with a Google Play. And our goal is here on the right. So we want by the end of next year to have 1 million monthly active users transacting with AppCoins. This is my last slide about the blockchain because, but it's important to mention this because people say, oh, blockchain is so amazing, so amazing. I think there's a lot of potential with blockchain, but there's still some limitations. So one of the things we started struggling when we start writing this protocol is the time of the transaction, right? So before, you would go inside one of our games, you click buy with AppCoins, and then it would take like at least 30 seconds like this, you know, for the transaction to process. Now it's like 10 seconds. So if you want, you just come to my booth, I can show you a real-time transaction. It's like 10 seconds from the moment I say buy something in the game until it's done. And the reason we're able to do this is because we're using something in the blockchain called sidechain. That means it's something that is not writing in the blockchain, okay? It's sidechain, it's here. I make the transaction here, and then after, I take my time to write this in the blockchain. So this is one of the things we've done. The other thing we've done is our users are not crypto investors. They don't even know what is blockchain. So what we're doing right now is when you go inside the game and say buy, we detect that you don't have a wallet, you don't have a Ether, you don't have any tokens. It doesn't matter. We just show a pop-up with a credit card. You put the credit card information, and immediately we take the money from your credit card and give AppCoins to the developer. Now we are integrating PayPal, but of course, with time we want to put Paytm for India, Coins.ph for Philippines, MOL, and so on. But right now, Visa is live already. Again, you can come to my booth, I can show you. We are finishing PayPal, and then we'll add more. In terms of rewards, is the advertising piece, okay? So if you play the game from the developer for 2 minutes and you earn some tokens, then you can spend them inside the game. So this is the rewards part. And then the other one is peer-to-peer, right? You might not be able to top up with a credit card today, but you can ask a friend or a family member to actually top up for you, and then they can transfer peer-to-peer the AppCoins to your wallet. Okay, so this is the last slide about the blockchain. So now the main topic of this talk is we're trying to get developers to work with us to reach our users. So how many users do we have? This is the number per year, okay? So in 1 year, we have 200 million active users. On a monthly basis, it's 40 million monthly active users. We're generating about 3 billion downloads per year from our servers. On a monthly basis, it's about 300 million downloads. We have about 800,000 apps and games already in our platform, and we work with half of the top smartphone brands in the world, namely Xiaomi, Vivo, and Oppo. I still don't work with Samsung and Huawei, but I'm trying to convince them to work with me. Where are my users? Well, in Americas, Europe, Southeast Asia. But here you can see the top 5 right now. So India is number 1, then Brazil, then Mexico, US, and Indonesia. But yeah, we have users everywhere. So any developer can come to our app store and publish their APK, okay? It can be a Google Play build. It can be your own build. We don't care, okay? We just don't allow virus and malware. But if you want us to actively promote your game or your app to our users, then you must give me something, right? That's why I'm here today in front of you, asking you to integrate my billing. If you do integrate, how can we promote you? Again, you can come to my booth. I can show you the App Store. I just took these print screens this morning, okay? So legacy of Discord, they've integrated AppCoins. So right now they're featuring my editor choice. Then we have a special section that says spend your AppCoins. So you can see legacy of Discord also here. And then in the bundles for RPGs, legacy of Discord is here. So basically what we'll do for free for you, you don't have to spend anything. We'll do the user acquisition for you and increase your downloads inside our App Store. The revenue share I mentioned already is 81%. Google Play, if you exclude the user acquisition, is 70%. If you have to spend user acquisition, then it will be like 40, 50% that they're giving you. And then Chinese App Store, surprisingly, we found out this in China Joy, they will actually take about, give you about 50% of the revenue. This was very surprising for me, right? Because I thought, oh, China, there's more competition. So I thought maybe they would give more revenue to the developer, but they don't. They give like 50%, which for me was very surprising. We are here at Unity because we do have a Unity plugin. So right now it takes like 1 day to integrate AppCoins into your game. We have the same Google Play endpoints. So we try to make the life of the developer as easy as possible. And soon we're finalizing, but we'll be inside the Unity editor next year. So it's going to be even easier to integrate our billing. Finally, the goal we have is reach 100 developers by the end of this year. Right now we are about 30. And then 1,000 developers by the end of next year. We do have an incentive program. So I just took this print screen also this morning. So these are some of the developers that are already working with us. We're giving it per week about 12,000 US dollars worth of AppCoins. They're locked for 1 year. Of course, we don't want you to just go and sell them. And then you can see how the transactions have been evolving in the last month. So until here was like a soft launch, still playing. And then October, we launched the credit card functionality. And you can see the spike on the number of transactions, which is pretty good for a blockchain project. OK, my last slide. So the 3 takeaways that I wanted to share with you today is, of course, Google Play and Apple should be your main app stores. But don't ignore third-party app stores because we actually generate 20% of the volume outside China. I hope you understood how blockchain can help some of the distribution, the payment, security, and so on. And then, yeah, I finalized saying if you'd like to work with us, it's not mandatory, as I mentioned. You can publish whatever you want in our app store. But if you want me to promote and reach 200 million users, please integrate my billing. And that's it. Thank you so much for the ones that I know you are hungry, but you came to listen to my talk. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.